I'm going to read a book called Through My Window by Tony Bradman and Eileen Brown. Sita and then Krishna absolutely loved these books. So I'm sitting in the green room while I read this. And it says, celebrating 30 years of a children's classic. Because I think we gave Sita's copy away. Through My Window is inspired by people Eileen knew and events observed from her own window in 1980s London. She worked with young children from many ethnic backgrounds who rarely saw themselves in books. Put us in your books, they said. Tony developed the story and the rest is history. In the US and the UK, Through My Window was the first picture book published with a mixed-race family where the story wasn't about race or culture. The book has remained in print for 13 years and now it has been reissued for a new generation of children to enjoy. Well, that noise was from Mano, who heard me talking and wanted to come through and listen. It doesn't realise that I'm reading a story for lots of people to listen to, not just doggies. Right, let's have a look at the first page. Jo was ill in the night. In the morning she had a temperature and her dad said she would have to stay indoors. She wanted her mum to stay at home, but she had to go to work. Oh, poor old Jo doesn't look very happy, does she? There must be a better way of doing this. Never mind, Jo. Keep an eye out for me tonight. I'll bring you a surprise to make you feel better. So Jo waved goodbye to her mum from the window until she turned the corner of the street. Jo felt tired, so she had a sleep. Is she sleeping in her bed? No. Where's she sleeping? When she woke up, she heard feet coming up the street. Was it her mum coming home with her surprise? She looked out of the window. But it was only Jo's friend, the postman. He waved, but he didn't have any letter for Jo's flat today. Jo looked at some books. After a while, she heard feet coming up the street again, and a clinking, clanking sound. Was it her mum coming home with her surprise? She looked out of the window, but it was only her friend, the milkman. Hello, Jo, he called, and left some milk outside the door. Jo's dad brought her lunch on a tray. When she'd finished, she heard some feet coming up the street. Was it her mum coming home with her surprise? She looked out of the window. But it was only her friend, Mrs. Alley, who lived next door. I've bought you some comics, said Mrs. Alley, and came in to see her. Jo looked at the comics and then she heard some barking in the street. Was it Jo's mum coming home with a surprise that barked? What do you think? She looked out of the window, but it was only Patch, Mrs. Allie's dog, chasing a cat across the road. Jo felt tired, so she had another sleep. She dreamed about all the things her mum might bring her as a surprise. Oh, look at all those things. Postman Pat van, racket and ball, crayons, robot, a dinosaur, a special kind of tiger, I think to do with He-Man, a telephone, a jigsaw. Oh gosh, so many things. Then, oh dear, I'm not doing very well here, am I? Then she dreamed she could hear feet in the street again and woke up. Was it her mum coming home with her surprise? She looked out of the window, but it was only her friend, the window cleaner. The window cleaner pressed her face against the glass and made Jo laugh. Soon Jo was fed up. Her mum would be ages yet, and she'd probably forget all about her surprise anyway. Jo heard some more feet coming up the street. They were coming closer and closer. Was it Jo's mum coming home with her surprise? Jo looked out of the window. Yes, it was. She ran down the hall and opened the door for her mum. Here you are, Jo. Here's a present to make you feel better. Jo opened the box. And can you guess what was inside it? That's right. The present she'd always wanted.